This is my dive down on the EMBA, or the E.M.B.A., which is outside of Milwaukee on Lake Michigan. It's a gorgeous wreck, sitting in about 170 feet of water. You can see in the lower right corner, my depth is already at 130 feet. Obviously, I didn't start this at the beginning of the dive. And 133, and so therefore we are beyond recreational limits. You can also see that in about a minute I'm going to exceed my NDL, my no decompression limit. So if you're going to do this dive, make sure that you're properly trained and experienced. This is not for even advanced open water divers. You need to be familiar and comfortable with decompression procedures. You saw me put on a strobe on the line. That's just something that I do for a couple of reasons. One is to help me find the line if visibility gets poor. Although on this day it was some of the best visibility I've seen in Lake Michigan in a long time. And so visibility was fantastic on this day for what Lake Michigan is. But the other thing I do is just help communicate with buddies so that we know who's on the wreck still and who's already ascended if we get separated. What you see here jetting upward is part of the self-unloading system of the E.M.B.A. The E.M.B.A. was originally launched in 1890 as the A.C. Tuxbury. It was a tow barge meant to be towed behind a steamer and would carry cargo such as coal, grain, and lumber. It visited such ports in Lake Michigan as Milwaukee, Chicago, Buffalo, Sturgeon Bay, Menominee, and Escanaba. Those last two are some of my favorite ports to say. And I can't say Menominee without thinking of the Muppets and da-da-da-da-da, Menominee, da-da-da-da. Anyway, the E.M.B.A., the Tuxbury was sold in 1923 to the Milwaukee Electric Railroad and Light Company, and that is when she was named the E.M.B.A. for Employees Mutual Benefit Association. And that's when she was converted into a self-unloader and spent the next 9 years carrying coal around the Milwaukee River. This is my first dive on the E.M.B.A., so I am just taking it slow and introducing myself to this wreck and seeing what she wants to tell me on this first dive. The E.M.B.A.'s final voyage was in 1932. The Milwaukee Electric Railroad and Light Company was phasing out the use of barges and were starting to use trucks to deliver coal. And in doing so, they estimated that they would save 4,700 bridge openings on the river every year, which is quite an amazing number. On the other hand, there would be a lot more trucks driving around, so I'm not sure traffic got any better. The E.M.B.A. was intentionally sunk, and I looked for some articles and didn't have much luck. I don't think I was exhaustive, but I tried to find something about the actual sinking the day of and what may have been reported, and I didn't come up with anything, unfortunately, but if I do find something along the way, I'll make sure to post it below in the description. If you're successful in finding any articles, I'd certainly appreciate reading news reports of the day talking about the event. So here we're coming up to the bow of the ship. And the bow was damaged when it collided with the bottom. It went down bow first. She went down bow first, collided with the bottom. And you're seeing some of the damage here. As I swim around and shoot this, you're going to see that force of hitting the bottom did a lot of damage to this vessel. The stem and some frames were damaged and broke apart, resulting in the windlass forecastle deck to collapse and the steam-powered windlass itself to fall onto the port side of the forecastle. Again, this wasn't being broken apart in a storm or anything. This was simply colliding with the bottom. This ship has been on the bottom of Lake Michigan for over 100 years, and this is what she looks like all these years later. On the port side here, just checking out the sand, and you can see there that I'm heading in the direction of that darker rectangle-shaped object. I'm just very curious by that. I want to know what that is for some reason, so here I come looking, and well, it's a piece of wood. It's a log. It's not a log. It's a board. It's a plank. It's nothing all that terribly exciting after all. I dived this dive in early August of 2025, and the conditions were just about perfect. I'm not sure I've ever seen better on the lake. The lake itself was about as calm as a swimming pool before the children dive in. The visibility here, as you can see, is really quite good for Lake Michigan. Temperature was recording it right now. It's at 39 degrees, but somehow I'm feeling very comfortable. Maybe it's the strong undergarments that I have. Maybe it's the heated vest, maybe it's a combination, but the thermocline as I head up during decompression was mid to upper 60s, and boy, it was just comfortable as could be. Didn't mind hanging on the line at all on this dive. Now we're on the starboard side. Again, if you're properly trained and experienced, there's a little bit of penetration availability on this wreck. You could go under those beams and get a closer look at the debris down below. Like I said, this is my first dive on the E.M.B.A, so I was just taking it easy, getting to know her. Making this video so before my next dive on her I can watch this a few times and come up with a dive plan. There you can see some light below in the cargo area. That's one of my dive buddies. Doing exactly what I just said, getting a closer look, seeing what there is to see down there. And there's that self-unloading mechanism off in the distance, towering above us. It's interesting, self-unloading vessels weren't able to carry quite as much material as the vessels that needed to carry or that be unloaded and by manpower, but the time saved in unloading the vessel was significant enough that they didn't mind carrying less of a load. Much of the self-unloading gear remains along the bottom, along with a vertical steam pump, which I don't know that I got great video of or spent much time noticing, but it sounds like I got a plan for the next dive. Here we are at the stern, which I'm guessing you already know. Know what that is? Oh yeah, the rudder. I mean, for a service barge, this, I don't know, I think this looks really cool. Just beautiful. I'm always curious what may be lying around the ship, be it something that fell off during the sinking or maybe something that a diver lost. After the dive, as I was filling out my log, our planned run time was right about an hour, went a little bit over, and that was okay. We were well in communication with the boat atop, and they knew what our plans were. But it seems to me that a dive with a run time of about 75 minutes is probably about right for this. Of course, you should plan your own dive and dive your own plan, but an hour felt just not quite enough time, but I don't know that I needed a 90-minute run time. Here I am getting my picture taken by another dive buddy. It looked to me that those were just very large rocks and boulders, and my suspicion is that they filled that with just extra weight before intentionally sinking her to help her get to the bottom more quickly. Obviously it worked. You saw the damage it did to the bow. On the same day we dived the E.M.B.A, we also dived the St. Albans, which is about 5 miles away from where we're currently diving. And the two wrecks seem to go together on a day out of diving. And that video is also going to be on my channel, so you may want to check that out. That was a wreck that went down in a storm, and interesting story to herself. And really enjoyed diving that wreck as well. This was just a fantastic day of diving. And not only were the conditions fantastic, but you saw the entire amount of divers on the boat. It was the three of us. For whatever reason, there's not a lot of technical divers, I guess, in Chicago, and so filling up tech boats is a little more challenging. But the captain went out with just the three divers on, and we had this wreck largely to ourselves, and the dive boat largely to ourselves, with plenty of room to suit up and didn't have to squish together with anyone. In fact, I had a bench entirely to myself, and I used about 40% of it. It was great. If you have the means and can just buy out the boat for you and a buddy, I highly suggest it. It's so choice. Can you name the movie? It's a Chicago. It's a classic Chicago film. I know we're in Milwaukee waters, but still, we're neighbors of Chicago. Well, it's at about this time that we're going to start making our way up to the surface, and I'm not going to include the entire deco obligation in this video. As you can see, we've got about 30 minutes to get to the surface at this point. We're 28 minutes in, so we're right about our 1 hour mark, aren't we? Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're going to dive the E.M.B.A or the E.M.B.A, please dive safe.